didn't want to check that body. Fair play.
Good evening, guys. You're all very welcome to the stream here on both YouTube and Discord. Irish Skies here on Twitch, or Andy G if you're on YouTube. We'll be starting the stream in just about 2 minutes' time as we set up our Airbus A320neo and head out from Dublin out to Paris Charles de Gaulle. And once we all see our live stream there, we are seeing our stream indeed. So guys, if you are enjoying the stream, don't forget to let me know. You can comment in the message box, let me know what you want to see. Just knocking off our fuel pumps, we are pretty much ready to go. Our IRS is aligned and ready to go. So let's get some lights on as well. So as I said, we are using the fly-by-wire A320neo. It's probably the latest model of it as well in the developer version. So when we get airborne, we have filed for our flight plan, but when we set up earlier, we're using a SimBrief flight plan. So we're just going to set that up in the MCDU as we go along. So we have plenty of fuel on board as we get ready for this flight. I'd like to say a big hello to Liam, who's after joining the stream. Hello, Liam. Okay, so we're just going to get our set up onto our Discord channel. For any of our members, we will be able to talk to them as well. Okay, so let's just take a look at the weather before we go anywhere. See how the weather is here in Dublin. It's a cold one.
Dublin Airport information Zulu 08000 Zulu. Wind 325 at 17. Visibility 6. Sky condition. Few clouds at 600 feet. Few clouds at 4,100 feet. Few clouds at 11,500 feet. Temperature -3. Dew point 10. Altimeter tree 0.27. ILS runway 28 left in use. Landing and departing runway 28 left. DSR aircraft.
So we're going to be taking off runway 28 left here at Dublin. We haven't looked at which runway we'll be landing at in Paris Charles de Gaulle. As I did say earlier on, we did use the SimBrief integration for our flight plan. So we are going to use that one for the departure out of Dublin and en route into Paris. Just a couple more things to set up before we depart. It's actually set us up for runway 10 right, but we can change that in just a moment. So we're going to go out of runway 28.
Taxiing to gate 406 using taxiway Sierra 4 Sierra cross runway 34 Bravo 2 Zulu Ryanair 1975.
Perfect. So our flight plan, as it looks currently, is runway 28 out of Dublin, Pesset to Bacure to Stew. So that's an oceanic track. We're then going to decel or slow our aircraft down. Then we're en route into Paris Charles de Gaulle. As we approach Paris, the simulator is going to give us our approach plate, which will then enter into the MCDU for our approach. Hopefully the weather in Paris for that glass of vino is a little bit warmer than Dublin at -4 degrees here this evening. Okay, so we get everything set up. And we'll push back. We'll get our engine started, start our APU, get pushed back from the gate here at Dublin, gate 411 that we're on, or stand 411. And then once we start to get our pushback, we'll set the aircraft up for the departure. Get the heat on the back. For those passengers, you never know, getting a little bit cold as well. That should give them about 24 degrees in the back. So that'll be the APU starting up now. Take a look at it down on the ECAM as it gets ready. Once we see load going onto our APU, we can then cross bleed onto our engines. We're going to start our right hand engine first, followed by our left hand engine as well. It's a short taxi here at Dublin, so we're not going to do a single engine taxi today. We're going to start both engines taxi straight out to runway 28. Going to go to our performance page. As I said, we've got our speeds set as well. So 124 for our V1. We cannot stop beyond that point, even safely on the runway. VOR, our rotation speed, 125 knots, and V2, our positive climb out, at 129. The transition altitude here at Dublin, though, is 5,000 feet. So we're going to fill that in our MCDU before setting up our next pages. Climb's going to be at 179 managed. That's going to increase as we go airborne. 250 for the cruise, and then which I'll actually change that to 280 By the time we go to Mach numbers, that should balance out. Descent at about 250 until we reach 10,000 feet, at which point we'll slow down to 240 knots on the descent into Paris. Our approach plates, I'll fill that out as we get a little bit closer, but currently, at our current weight, we're looking at our landing speed of about 122 knots. We're going to go flaps full as well for that landing. So, looking at our APU has now started. We do have load on it, but we're now going to start our engines. Our cross bleed is on, or our bleed is on. Packs 1 and 2 are going to come off for the engine start. As we switch engine 2 and our beacon on as well. It should take about 30 seconds to start engine number 2, at which point then we're going to start engine number 1 and we'll start taxiing. Actually, while engine 2 is starting, we'll remove our parking brake and get them to push us back.
Dublin, Brown Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie
Take a look
requesting
outside
pushback.
as well.
Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie pushback request accepted.
So our brakes will come off now as that tug connects. It's going to push us back. It's going to push us out to the right. Good evening, AvGeeks Assemble. Hope you're keeping well. Welcome to the stream. Alright, so we've started our pushback. Gonna get them to push us out to the right.
Dublin, Brown Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie requesting pushback. Time to steer the aircraft to the right.
Started our turnaround to the right. Hopefully he'll push us back onto the centre line.
Has been transmitted to the operator.
As that Ryanair pulls into Terminal 2, looking like an Airbus A330. Realistically, Ryanair would be using Terminal 1, but the sim doesn't realise that just yet. Go back inside the aircraft really quickly. Got engine 2 started and is stabilised. So we're now going to start engine number 1. We're going to monitor it this time. So we have rotation on engine number 2, or engine number 1, my mistake. PSI is increasing, our temperature is increasing, and the fuel has just gone in. It's also using ignition pack B, or Bravo. They've now pushed us to the line, so we're going to stop our pushback. We're currently on taxiway Zulu here at Dublin.
Charlie Alpha, Charlie requesting the end of pushback.
So the pushback is now ended.
Airbus Echo India. Charlie
Check
Alpha, Charlie
on engine number 1.
pushback received.
So engine number 1 has had a good start. We'll now bring our engine positions back to normal. Check that our lights are on in the overhead panel. We'll request our taxi in just a moment. So the lights that we currently need will be our beacon, our navs, and now our strobes. We can now also knock or turn off our APU. We no longer need it. Turn off the bleed air while turning on packs 1 and 2. And we'll switch off the bleed. Park brake comes on. Set our flaps to position 1 for the departure and arm our speed brake. As you can see now, armed in the middle.
Dublin, Brown Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie requesting pushback.
Quick reminder of our destination. Our destination is Paris Charles de Gaulle.
Pushback request accepted.
Yep, we requested a pushback in. We didn't need to do that.
Charlie Alpha Charlie requesting the end of pushback. Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie request to end pushback received.
So go over to Dublin ground, request our clearance for taxi.
Dublin ground Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie with Zulu ready to taxi IFR. Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie taxi to and hold short of runway 28 left using taxiway Zulu Bravo 1 Echo 1 cross runway 34. Contact tower on 118.6 when ready.
So as I said, a nice short taxi here at Dublin. Taxi out to the main runway and depart. We'll also turn on our weather radar as well. Get rid of the ATC box as we see that Airbus A320 taxiing in front of us. Parking brake coming off. Ooh, lock the cockpit door. It's now locked. And start our taxi. So initial climb out will be to 5,000 feet, and then en route ATC as we go along. Need to see what's beeping, because I can hear we have something beeping through our Twitch. Very thank you for the follows. And we have a vehicle sitting in front of us. That's not very nice. Let's pop our parking brake back on. I have one more thing to set, which we'll look at in just a moment. Alrighty, let's get back underway. As a car sits in front of us. We'll have to taxi around him, unfortunately. Oh, and he disappears. Right. And get going on our way. Out past the Pluto Hull Terminal 2. On our right, the new scenery here at Dublin, it's downloadable from simmarket.com, is absolutely stunning. They've done an amazing job with Dublin and it looks just as it should. Don't forget guys, if you do have any questions for the stream or where we're heading to, don't forget to put them into the box below. Another vehicle sitting in the way. Oh. We'll wait and see where he wants to go. Geeks Assemble, weather report from Paris. If it's love weather, they may have a front over France, or live over France. Thanks for that, Geeks. Alright, so set our brakes to RTO, or max, here in the Airbus for departure. Why would you set brakes to max? Well, if we have to reject on the runway for whatever reason, we have that ready to go. Cabin will check and we'll hit our takeoff configuration as well. So takeoff configuration, we're normal, and we'll alert the cabin we're ready to go. And we'll let that other aircraft taxi clear the runway. Let's contact the tower. taxi light will come off, our strobe light's going to come on, and our landing light is going to come on. Also our runway turn-off light, which is now on as well.
Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie cleared for takeoff runway 28 left.
So we're now clear for takeoff. Got our clearance, taxi out onto runway 28 and depart for lovely France. Lovely Paris. Excuse me. Window and probe heat is also coming on so we don't pick up any ice on the departure. And turn on our constraints as well. Here we go, off to lovely Paris. Flight Director 1 on and Flight Director 2 on, which we forgot to turn on at the gate. So we into man flex, flexing at 55 degrees. That's V1 and rotate. Landing gear is coming up. Continuing the climb 5,000 feet. And see where the tower wants us afterwards. Make our turn out as well. It's going to be very sharp. Should be realistically be climbing out to Oscar Echo as the first waypoint. Thrust reduction will be at about 1,500 feet. 132.15 for Shannon as well.
Going to 132.15 Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
So 132.15, that's contact Shannon.
Shannon Center, Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie is at 2,800 feet, climbing 5,000 feet.
And that is the flaps coming in as well.
Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie Shannon Center continue to visit as planned. Altimeter 30.27.
3027 on the altimeter, we have that in place as well. So Bossman Jonesy, yes, I completely agree. They have made the sound absolutely perfect in the sim. Well, this is the fly-by-wire A320neo by Flywire modifications, and they've done it spot on. So, because this flight plan was manually inserted from SimBrief, we're going to have to request cruising altitude changes. So we're going to actually do that now. Otherwise, we'll be flying all the way to France, burning that fuel at 5,000 feet. Not going to work. We'll run out of fuel long before we get there. Oh, there we go. They're actually climbing us higher. We'll have to see where they position us in the end. So climbing to 15, we'll acknowledge that, continue our climb. As we pass by Dublin City. Hopefully on the next update, January 26th, some of these terrain spikes that they have in, as you can see, just coming out through the window now, will be removed from the simulator. Unfortunately, as you fly closer to them, they do disappear, but they haven't managed to get rid of them just yet. So our estimated time down to Paris Charles de Gaulle, we're estimating Paris at 1044 Zulu, or UTC. So currently in the sim, it is 9:05. Get rid of our ground spoilers, and in a minute we'll switch on. We must switch on the no smoking sign. Guys, please don't smoke on the aircraft. We don't want to go down in flames. So a couple of minutes time, switch off that seatbelt sign, sit back, relax, and we'll enjoy this flight to Paris. Let's take a look at our aircraft from outside of the cockpit. Absolutely stunning. They've nailed it. As we pass over the Dublin Mountains right now. En route, Paris. beautiful morning here in the simulator. Geeks Assemble, what's on the menu for tonight's flight? I don't know, are you in business class or are you in economy? So how are we looking? No major turbulence to affect the flight so far, so we're looking good. Throttle back, we're probably going to get another climb in just a couple of minutes. I've put in for the flight plan to, let's see, I think it was 37,000 feet for the cruise. Optimal being 390 or 39,000 feet. Hopefully we'll get up to about 37 at least. If not, we'll have to request higher. And AvGeeks Assemble has mentioned that he is also flying in economy, so like Ryanair, you're unfortunately going to have to pay and pick off the menu. The fish is really good, but you're only getting fish or beef. So they're giving us 17, we'll have to request higher in just a couple of minutes. That seems to be our max altitude that they've given us.
Climb and maintain 17,000 feet, Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
So you are very welcome to the stream if you're just joining in on this flight, Dublin to Paris Charles de Gaulle. On the menu tonight, since AvGeeks Assemble is asking, fish or beef? Ooh, that weather has changed a little bit, getting a little bit cloudier out below. So we're currently coming up on 17,000 feet. Gonna request higher.
Shannon Center, Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie. Request flight level 270. Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie, climb and maintain flight level 250. Expect flight level 270.
So now we're going to 25,000, flight level 250, and then onwards up hopefully after 27,000 feet or 270 up as far as flight level 370 for optimum cruise.
Flight level 250, expect flight level 270, Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
Do I have an ETA on Paris? I do indeed. I will get that for you now. Get rid of our ATC menu, we do not require it. And my ETA for Paris is now looking at 1012 UTC or 1012, so that is approximately 1 hour from now. Actually a little bit less than, about 50 minutes from now, sorry. So, above 10,000 feet, we'll switch the cabin seatbelt sign off, let our guests walk around our cabin. And if I hear AvGeeks Assemble knocking on the door, we can't let him in. Hopefully, in the next couple of days as well, I'll have my ugly face also on the stream, so come and make fun of that. You are more than welcome Bossman Jonesy. Ooh, looking a bit cloudy out there. Hopefully it's not snowing. Coming to standard pressure above 18,000 feet, which is normally 2992 or 1018 if you're in Europe. Just going to be overhead Pesset in about 3 minutes time. From Pesset then we direct nearly to Paris. Other players out here. Should have mentioned we're live on the multiplayer in the sim as well. Absolutely stunning. No ice, no nothing, and look at that lovely A320neo. So let's make sure that we are pressurizing and everything is comfortable for our guests in the back. So 24 degrees in the cabin. Our cabin pressure is rising as it should be. Goes above 10,000 feet. We're diverting. We're going somewhere. Plenty of fuel on board. We've only used 890 pounds currently. And let's take a look at some of our other engine or our other settings along the way. So our cabin bleed, we are very good on that. Everything's pressurizing, the cabin's pressurizing and it's going up. Our engines running smoothly, 2 are running, all good. They haven't fully implemented on the pack system yet, but currently we're using system 2 to pressurize the cabin according to our ECAM. Hydraulics still not modelled just yet on the A320neo. We have a climb 270 and acknowledge that from the tower.
Climb and maintain flight level 270 Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
So our fuel, as I said, we've got plenty of fuel on board. This is taken from SimBrief, so it's modelled the exact fuel that we need for the flight, plus any alternate fuel that we'd require if we need to divert. APU is shut down and it is secure. We don't need to worry about anything happening down there. Conditioning is good. We got warm air coming in from our bleed. It's 24 degrees throughout the cabin. Our doors are all secured and armed, and our wheels are cold, as we want them. Flight controls still working, don't need to worry about anything. And our status, excellent. 118.775. So tomorrow night's stream we're going to go on to VATSIM and have live controllers where you'll hear me talking to them ourselves. So 118.775.
Manchester Center Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie is at flight level 255, climbing flight level 270. Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie Manchester Center. Continue to see Air Tango uniform as planned.
So Stu is our next waypoint, reaching there in approximately 10 minutes time. And then we'll be inbound. Let's take a look at our flight plan once again. Yep, so it's going to be Stu, which is 26 miles away. 24 miles away. Then it's going to be to our decel point in a little over 300 miles, descending for Paris Charles de Gaulle. Going to request higher once again, bringing us up to 37,000 feet for our cruise.
Manchester Center Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie. Request flight level 370. Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie climb and maintain flight level 370.
So no surprise there, we're getting the altitude that we want for our cruise at 37,000 feet. Going to start our climbs at 37,000 or 370 right now.
Charlie Alpha Charlie.
Let's take a look at our crosswinds on the nose. 64 knots across the nose. So we are kind of side slipping our way throughout the flight. Don't worry, still pretty comfortable. Sitting at home. Hope plenty of nice beverages to be had. Don't forget, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, don't forget to give a big shout out in the chat, or if you do want to follow along for plenty of more content along the way. I'll even attempt, if enough people want it, I'll attempt the mock loop in Wales with an Airbus A320. I know friends of mine have recently seen me do it, and yeah, the results were quite entertaining to say the least. Oh, Bossman Jonesy is setting the terms right now. He's saying, haha, yeah. It's getting busy over the Irish Sea with a few A320s out there. Let's get the weather while we're at it. See what weather is in Paris. So get that weather in just a minute. A little message will come up on the upper eCam telling us company message received. From that then we'll be able to look back into our MCDU and see what our weather's like in Paris. Also, if there's anywhere that you'd like to see us flying here in the sim, don't forget, put it in the comment below, let me know, and we'll arrange to go and fly it as well. So here's our METAR. What have we got? So Paris, currently, the wind is at 3 knots, and nothing major. Excellent. Nice and easy when we get in there. I'm just curious though, since I've kind of set that challenge of putting an Airbus A320neo through the mock loop, here's the big question. Will its wingspan, for those spotters out there, will the wingspan fit through CAD East and CAD West? I think that's the tightest section of the mock loop. Let me know. So not in the not in the cruise just yet. Still climbing about 270 knots at the moment, crossing 34,000 feet. gonna level out at 370 or 37,000 feet, and that way we're cruising all the way to Paris. Have to admit, I have some great cabin crew. They've just dropped me in a tasty beverage. What are you guys drinking? What have you ordered? Once again, Airbus A320 is below us, and A5 even out flying at 2,000 feet. Wonder where he's going. Lots of people live tonight. If you're flying, come and join us on this flight. Let's see where we are. That you guys know. So if you're around the area, even taking off from London, come and join me. You'll see me sitting at 37,000 feet. Don't be afraid to come up and even buzz me if you're in any of those military aircraft that are starting to come into the sim. The India Echo M339, or even if you're waiting, that long-awaited F-15 coming out as well. I know some people already have it on their streams, testing them out. If you got one, come on, I'd love to see it. So how are we looking on our fuel? Let's take a look. Still plenty of fuel on our fuel checks. Oh, I spoke too soon. Someone is actually flying the M339. Hopefully if they're watching the stream, they'll come up. Let's see if they can come up in formation with the A320neo by fly-by-wire. ILS approach into Paris. Well, we'll have to wait and see what ATC provide for us, but if it's an ILS, it'll be nice, easy, down the glide slope. If not, it could be an ORNAV, which I haven't done in a while, so that would be good practice for me. But we'll take a look as we get a little bit closer. As I said, the wind is only at 3 knots in Paris, so it's going to be a nice, easy approach. Haven't looked at the visibility, actually. Let's take a look at that METAR one more time. Go to our ATC COM menu. Back to our ATSU downlink, our AOC menu, into our received messages, and our METAR. So it's Kavok. Okay, so when we get down there, visibility is not going to be ideal. It's about 3 miles currently. Hopefully that's going to change though by the time we get in down there. What's the weather like where you're from? Let me know. Let's start getting ready for some charts for Paris, so we can take a look at their charts. Oh, that 339 is also climbing. Is he coming to visit? Stunning looking. So cloud and visibility is okay in Paris. Visibility is about 10 miles. Absolutely perfect. Snowing in western England. And that's by AvGeeks Assemble. Let's take a look around our cockpit one more time with the beautiful views that we have. Oh, someone below me. And someone flying the Pit Special out there as well, doing all of their aerobatic maneuvers. Don't need our dome light on at the moment, so we'll knock that off. May need it as we get back into France. And my flight bag is deciding not to work or give me charts. That's not how we want it. So managed speed is at 290 knots, 0.78 Mach, which we're currently cruising in Mach number as well. (250 miles from Paris Charles de Gaulle). and it is estimating that we'll arrive overhead Paris at 10:05. So that is approximately 35 minutes time. Lots more people flying and taking off. A mixture of the A5s, the 747 800-inch Continental, Neos, and now we're going to contact London. We're going over to London on 118.475 on our radios. 8475. We don't want the RAF to come up and intercept us just yet, anyway.
London Center, Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie, flight level 370.
Airbus Echo India, Charlie Alpha, Charlie London Center, continue as planned.
Continuing as planned, direct to Paris. Let's get another METAR for Paris, see where the winds are. That will give us an idea of what runway we're going to come in Paris. Go into our EOC menus, and again, we're going to request the weather. METAR, and we're going to send it. So waiting to see company message received up on our upper ECAM. Once we have that, we can take a look at that METAR. Company message, AOC menu, into received, our new METAR, and let's see what the wind's like. So it's 020 degrees at 4 knots. It's coming out of the north. So that looks like we'll probably be coming in runway 9 in Paris. That could change though en route, so we'll take a look. A little bit of turbulence coming in. We'll switch that seatbelt sign on. It's the guys partying at the back. We'll also notify the cabin crew that we've switched that seatbelt sign on. One of the cameras that I do love is that showcase mode. Oh yeah, look at that lovely aircraft. That lovely A320neo. Whoops, we don't want to look down. Although there is a 339 directly below us. That weather looks absolutely stunning as well. I'm waving at you guys really from the cockpit. Have Geeks Assemble is running back to his seat. I'm sure he's probably screaming as well. Let's take a look and see where we are on our map. Just about to cross the English Channel. Coming up on our decel point, a couple of miles time. And then set up for our approach into Charles de Gaulle. So the question now that you have to decide, since we're going to be descending shortly, is red or white? Which are you going to go for? Snails are also off the menu. So how many Instagram users have we got in the stream? If you do, pop your Instagram tag into the chat. That may get you some more followers along the way as well. So still that crosswind coming across that nose, still coming out of the north, or the northwest, and it's 20 knots now, so it's not as strong as it was, which it was 60 earlier, when we had a little bit of shakes and bumps from the aircraft as well. So we're doing pretty well. We've got a ground speed of 461 knots, and a true airspeed of 448 knots, so we're doing pretty well on speed. Estimating Paris at 10:05 sim time, so that's going to be at about, we got 41, about 30 minutes time, so approximately 12:10 Irish time, and in the UK as well. 183 nautical miles to run. Have to say, the live weather is absolutely stunning today. Cold? Yes, definitely. We've had snow in Ireland and across most of Europe at this point, but at least it's been smooth all the way across for this flight. If there is anything that you'd like to see in the stream in the future, please let me know. There's plenty of things to come about. We'll do a mixture of flying, and hey, even at some point later on down the line, we may even try a round the world flight in something small. But there you go, you just never know. If you are around though and you want to join, I will put my username for the sim in the chat, and if you do wish to join Irish Skies in the future, you will be able to do so. Someone has said, let's see the pilots. Ooh, we only look up and down. See if we get this camera right. It's as close as I'm gonna get, cutting the head off slightly. Wouldn't want to be sucked into any of those engines. Just listen to the sound of them. Ooh, we have a bit of turbulence coming in there as well. Glad I have the seatbelt sign on. That wind has just changed and we now have a tailwind as well. Big thanks to AvGeeks Assemble for giving us a shout out on Instagram. Go over to their Instagram and take a follow of them. AvGeeks Assemble, group of photographers based out of the UK and Ireland on the airshow scene. Well worth the follow. Just looking through their Instagram right now myself, and I have to say, do really enjoy their work. A group of them, even their story there. Just laughing through their stories, but you name it, they're covering a broad spectrum from general aviation, so the airliners, all the way through to the mock loop, all the way through to the classics. So go over, follow AvGeeks Assemble, well worth it, guys. So a bit of weather forming up on our weather radar ahead. It's not going to be all that choppy. Luckily enough, it's banked 15 nautical miles ahead. So we've got a good ground speed now, 470 knots with a true airspeed of 450. So we are absolutely booting across Europe. That weather ahead though that you see, it's only going to be light turbulence, luckily enough. If you see anything crazy, well, hold on to your hats. So once again, taking a look at our fuel, see what our situation is, and then decide what we're doing. But at the moment, we're still on track to De Gaulle. So we've used 3,080 pounds of fuel currently. It's minus 54 degrees outside. Please do not stick your hand out the window. It will blow away. Get rid of the seatbelts, we no longer need them. Make sure that we are still tuned in. We still have London Centre dialed in as well. Absolutely beautiful day. Look at it. Wouldn't mind going on my holidays currently after that strange year that we've had over in 2020. absolutely beautiful day out. Don't forget, guys, if you are tuned in on YouTube, it is Andy_G on the channel, Irish Skies on
Airbus
Twitch.
Charlie Alpha, Charlie contact Paris Center on 119.825.
119.825, going over to Paris Center. Let's go and talk to them.
119.825 Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
We'll contact the center.
Paris Center Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie flight level 370. Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie Paris Center. Continue as planned. Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie descend and maintain flight level 310.
And that's what I was just about to check for our descent. So we're on the descent, 31,000 feet on the way into Paris. See what runway they wish to give us. Now on the descent, our performance page will change shortly from... Oop, I need to enter our destination data as well, so that will go to go from cruise to descent. I'm going to fill this in. Just need to double check our weather, check my charts, and then once we fill this in, I'll show you how to fill it in as well. So actually, we'll get the latest METARs once again, and we'll fill them out as we go. So I need to go to my ATC menu, ATC COM menu, sorry. We're then going to AOC and a weather request once again. So that is queued and it's sent on our downlink. We're going to get a company message, which we can check in a moment. We'll get that page back, and then once we do so, we're going to enter that into the MCDU, into our landing page, and then decide on our configuration that we're going to use for landing. So we have it there. We'll go to our AOC menu again, received messages, take a look at what we've received. So latest one. Alrighty, so the wind is still 02, so coming from the north, at 4 knots. Perfect. 020 at 4. Clouds clouds at 8,000 feet. No significant change either. So, and our altimeter pressure will be 1020. So, no major changes on the way in. Gonna enter that now into our performance page, work out our landing speeds, and see where we go. So the QNH of 1020 into the QNH. The temperature, it doesn't have, let's see, nope, is -2 to -3. So -2. Ooh, it's cold. It's not as warm as I thought it would be. It was -2. Transition altitude, I need to check the charts, but I think it is 5,000 feet. I can change that as we get closer. The wind is 020. Direction at... We're going down. 230. And let them know we've acknowledged it. I need a co-pilot when I'm filling this in. Who wants to join me? Let me know in the comments below. So 020 at 4 knots. Don't know what runway's in use yet. We'll find out a little bit closer, and then we'll fill that in. Currently, our clean speed is 196, but we're going to go with full configuration for the landing. Also back to our descent page. Just make sure we haven't passed our decel point, which I know we haven't, but just always double check. Where is decel? So our decel is coming up in approximately 60 miles. That's no problem at all. At that point we'll enter approach mode, start to really slow the aircraft down, configure it for landing, and then line up for which runway we're given. But we'll fill that in the MCDU a little bit later on. If you do want to see though a tutorial on how to fill in the MCDU or anything to do with the autopilot, I'll be able to do that for you as well. So yeah, if you are following on YouTube, it is Andy_G. If you're following on Twitch, it is Irish_Skies. So as I said, if you with the tutorial for the MCDU, I'd be more than happy to do a stream on that and a flight. Let me know when and where, and we'll happily do that as well. So as I said, fuel, we've got plenty of fuel for landing. So we've got about 10 tons on board. So we're nearly bunkering fuel as we go. Light cloud layer as we pass through 26,000 feet. And continue our descent down to 23,000 feet, or flight level 230 on our way into Paris. Tasty beverage. So we're now leveling out 23,000 feet, 230, and waiting further instructions for descent. One more look at the aircraft outside before we do anything, before we get busy in the cockpit. There we go. Actually, come back into that now in one moment.
Descend and maintain 15,000 feet. Keep speed below 250 knots. Expect ILS runway 27 right approach via Mobro transition. Clear to Mobro.
So 15,000 feet going in.
Charlie Alpha Charlie descend and
Oh,
maintain
7,000 feet.
Keep speed below 250 knots.
And our speed will come back in just a couple of minutes.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Keep speed below 250 knots.
And we'll now set up our approach. Runway 27 right.
Mobro transition clear to Mobro Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
So runway 27 right. Via the Mobro transition. So Mobro transition, I need to take a look at that in my chart really quickly and find out which one it's going to bring me in on. So bear with me one moment. Runway 27 right. People are probably screaming at me, telling me which one to put into the box, which transition. So the Mobro transition, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Speed needs to come back anyway to below 250. Oop. It's bringing me off course, so I'm going to go with a that one there, via Mobro. And it has popped up there onto our PFD. Just want to take a look at, go to plan. Just confirm where it's going to bring us. It's bringing us to Bacor. We're going to go direct to Bacor. Actually, direct to Mobro, sorry. It should be. Also, to help with the descent, I'm going to bring some speed brake out as well. speed brake out to flight detent 50% to help slow us down and increase, and that's the rate of descent. Bringing the just to tone down the weather radar a little bit. As we're crossing through 14,000 feet, we're also going to come back to standard pressure, or sorry, from standard pressures to 3012. So we're also going to come into our decel phase in our performance screen. So we're going to slow back now to 196 knots as we come down through 10,000 feet. So we're going to intercept the localizer at approximately 5,000 feet. When we get to Mobro, we'll be inbound for our final affix point. We're going to intercept at about 14 miles is our final affix point for 27 right. Going to make sure that in our radio nav section of our MCDU, going to find out that we have the correct ILS tuned in, which will be 110.35, which it is the correct one. If we go misapproach though, we're going to climb straight ahead back to 5,000 feet to Papa Golf 651 and then continue outbound on a 281 heading to Pon. After Pon, we'll consult with ATC and we're going to keep our speed below 230 knots. So we are currently direct to Mobro and we'll cross Mobro. Should be descending faster than this. There we go, into the descent at Mobro, or to Mobro, which is 20 miles ahead of us. Again, don't mind all of these navigation lines popping up onto the PFD. The reason that these are actually coming up is because it's a glitch or a fault within Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at this point. It has not been fixed yet. Hopefully January 26th when the new update comes out. Yep, we are expediting the descent. We're also going to put our passenger signs back on. Let ATC know they haven't actually requested us to call them back. That is perfect. Put that on. We're also going to start to turn on some lights below 10,000 feet. Our landing lights will come on, just so we're a bit more visible to aircraft as well. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to start our auxiliary power unit. Not going to turn the bleeds on, but I will start it up. So once again, our APU menu has come up on the lower ECAM, and once we've got this turned on, we'll then be able to see what loads we have on. There shouldn't be any load on the APU at the moment, but when we land, depending on how big our taxi is going to be, we'll decide whether we're going to single engine taxi or continue on 2 engines. Let's continue.
Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie, contact Paris Center on 125.7.
125.7, we're going over to Paris. Paris Center.
125.7 for Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
Let's contact Paris and see what they have to tell us for our approach.
Paris Center, Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie is at 8,400 feet, descending 7,000 feet.
Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie Paris Center. Continue to Milboro as planned.
Continuing to Mobro and 3012 on our altimeter setting. Once we get to Mobro though, we're going to have altitude constraints of 7,000 feet. So we cannot cross Mobro below 7,000 feet for our approach. That's okay. That's completely doable as we slow our aircraft down as well. So someone asked me there for the our YouTube link. I'll try and find that for you just now. Once I find that, I'll pop it in, or I will also copy it into the chat. So I'm going to pull, loads of people loading in. So I've brought our main PFD back to 10 miles so we can see what's going on. We're going to cross Mobro in just a moment. There's also a bit of wind shear there as well. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Going to start to slow the aircraft down, bringing our flaps out to flaps 1 as I bring in our speed brake as well. Flaps 1, we can check that up on our ECAM. It's bringing only the flap, or the slats. That's perfectly fine until we slow down a little bit further. Also, we'll just double check that everything is normal. Our aircraft is currently decelerating back to 180 knots, which is slat speed. At that point, it may even drop our first stage of flaps as well. As we configure the aircraft, we're going to, because we're coming in 27 right, as far as I'm aware, the runway is dry. There was no rain, so we're going to do low braking on our auto brake. When we land though, we will land and we will come into reverse. We reverse idle. We don't need any more than that. Let the cabin crew know in a couple of moments that we are coming in to land. Get the cabin ready. Beautiful day here in Paris. Broken cloud. Visibility is amazing. Okay, it's -2. Wrap up warm. Okay, so we're now turning onto Mobro. Aircraft should start making a left-hand turn in just a couple of minutes. Or is it going to circle Mobro? Why is it accelerating on me? So our managed speed has for some reason decided to go kaput. That's okay. Bring it back to 190 inside of our autopilot, the MCD. I am using the development version of the fly-by-wire A320neo. So the flight plan is coming back on itself. Okay, that's why it tried to accelerate. So we're going to go direct BVS, or Bravo Victor Sierra. Enter direct. From that, hopefully it's going to then continue. Ah, okay. Hold on a moment. So I've already found a fault within the system. That's okay, we'll work around it. go direct to Gizuk. From that, hopefully it will come back onto its managed flight plan. There's no problem if it doesn't. We can always have redundancies, and we'll fall back on to the redundancy if that's happened. So coming back onto managed speed, the aircraft realizes now what it's doing. Well, I hope. And it will continue to follow its flight plan. To work out the issue, as Alex or Avgeeks Assemble has just mentioned, yep, slow, just rethink of what you've done. It may even be my own fault if we look back on the MCDU after we land. So we haven't picked up the ILS just yet. That's okay, we're just a little bit too far out. 22 miles to run to Bravo Victor Sierra, and then from that we should actually pick up the instrument landing system just after. So we're restricted to 7,000 feet at the next two waypoints, and there's a good way of how it looks at the moment. The flight sim still seems to be putting in this user waypoint that you see here. This is completely outside of our control until they fix their navigation issue within the sim. That's not a problem. We're going to follow our track down though, coming over Papa Golf 528, well BVS or Bravo Victor Sierra, Papa Golf 528, Uniform Sierra Romeo, and then to Gizok. At Gizok we are cleared down to 5,000 feet and then straight in on the ILS to runway 27 right in Paris Charles de Gaulle. So if you are just joining the stream, guys, you're all very welcome to the stream. I'm Irish Skies. You'll also find me as Andy G on YouTube, and you'll also find me on Instagram at the same tag handle as well. Lots to come though in the future with the channel. We're going big. It's either go big or go home. There was a challenge set down to me earlier of flying an A320neo as we flew over the Mach Loop to fly it through there. For some reason I think that the wingspan is just a little bit too big, but we will give it a go on a future stream. Lots coming though in the future. Big update coming January 26th to the sim, and then also we have the DC Design Studio coming out with their F-15. Looking forward to that one myself. Big shout out though, we've had loads of guys coming out throughout the stream. Avgeeks Assemble being the biggest one, kind of running to his seat as he said earlier, holding on for dear life and probably screaming. I could hear him from here. So, coming up on Bravo Victor Sierra, hopefully from there it's going to pick up Papa Golf into the next, or Papa Golf 528 will pick up on the next waypoint. So I will monitor that as we cross Bravo Victor Sierra in just a moment. But as I said, lovely day, balmy 2 degrees here in Paris. The cabin crew are coming through the cabin now and taking your orders for which wine you want on arrival. Red or white, fine sir? So, new pressure setting is 3015. That's completely okay, it's gone in. And see where we can come on the landing. Just going to monitor this now for the next moment. So, Bravo Victor Sierra, will it put us back to Cap 4? Hopefully it won't. If not, that's okay, we'll go direct to our final fixed point. 10 miles to Bravo Victor Sierra. After that, we are cleared to descend to 5,000 feet, according to our flight plan. So also guys, let me know what you'd like to see coming up in the stream over the next couple of months. We are nearly configured fully for landing. We just have to lower our landing gear and get more flaps out as well. We're only on slats at the moment. 180 knots are set up for braking action of low on the runway. It's a dry runway. It's not raining at Paris. And then we'll get ready for our landing in just a couple of minutes. One final check of our fuel for the flight. Get rid of our APU screen, we don't need it at the moment. So our cabin pressure is also coming down, which is what we want to see at this point. Plenty of fuel still on board. We've used a total of 3,870 pounds, which was to be expected for this flight. Still restricted on altitude to 7,000 feet on Papa Golf 528. We're just about to overfly Bravo Victor Sierra, so hopefully at Bravo Victor Sierra my MCDU has corrected itself and will now fly to Papa Golf 528. Avgeeks Assemble is telling me a 339 through the lakes. Yep, we'll do that. We're going to be back streaming tomorrow night. We will definitely do it at that point. Hopefully I won't... I think you were a witness to it the last time of when I decided to hit my... So we're going to De Gaulle approach. We're getting ready to land.
125.83 for Airbus.
Yep,
Charlie
we're going
Alpha
on to
Charlie.
Papa Golf 528. So 125.830 going over to approach.
De Gaulle approach Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha Charlie 7,000 feet.
Airbus Echo India, Charlie Alpha Charlie De Gaulle approach, continue to PG 528 as planned. Altimeter 30.15.
3015 also on our altimeter, and a friend of mine has just messaged me privately to tell me that he's behind. So let's take a look and see where he is. He's probably buzzing me in a 787, knowing himself. Yep, there he is, Jules WNT. So for some reason he's not come any closer, but he was closer a couple of minutes ago when he sent me a screenshot of it. So if you do see on final approach a 787 buzzing me, you can blame him. So it's not come out. I wanted to delete the USR waypoint. We don't actually require it. The aircraft's going to try and climb beforehand. So what is our next one? It's going to go Papa Golf 528, and then our next waypoint after that is Gizok. So we'll actually go direct to Gizok right now. So the aircraft's now turning. A new navigation line has come up on the screen on our main PFD, and we're turning in for Gizok. At Gizok, our next waypoint, we have a altitude restriction, or do we have an altitude restriction? 5,000 feet. So that will be our final fix into Paris. Jules WNT out there, 9,500 feet. Probably going, where are we going? So there is our instrument landing system. We're picking it up. We're 22 miles to land from Paris Charles de Gaulle. Final checks are going to get done. Landing gear is going to come down, and we're going to slow down for our final approach. Also, because it's been ordered and requested, our last wine call is going to be called as well. Red or white? You've missed dinner service. I'm sorry, but they may give you a doggy bag as you leave. Runway turn-off lights coming on as well. We are all set up, ready for our landing. We'll start to slow down in a couple of miles' time. Big shout out also to Ant Fogarty from Instagram, just after popping on the stream. Good evening, sir. So, 18 miles to run. Direct to Gizok, 26 miles, so we're a little bit closer to the field, but we have to intercept at Gizok. Will be our localizer to establish on it, which will actually arm the localizer now. And then we'll also arm our approach at Gizok. So as we descend for Gizok, we'll hopefully descend in to the runway. And if you're wondering what all the pretty colours on my primary PFD is, or on my PFD are, the aircraft was fed from the ground crew a lot of LSD. I mean, it's just the weather out in front of us. What could possibly go wrong? A little bit of turbulence out ahead, but that's nothing to worry about at all. Now making our descent to 5,000 feet, which is going to be where we're going to establish on Gizok. Once established there, we'll establish on the localizer, and then turn to finals for runway 25 right at Paris Charles de Gaulle. And thank you very much for the follow. And we're picking up ice, so our icing system has just gone on. As I said earlier, we may get buzzed by a 787. Well, that is Jules WNT. So just be aware, you may see him coming right up in front of the cockpit shortly, knowing what he's like. The Penguin King, ye wee hobbity bugger. Be a hard man and switch off the icer. Real men don't need it. You're dead right. I will switch it off in just a moment. Welcome to the stream, the Big Penguin King. So getting a little bit dark and cloudy now here as we approach Paris Charles de Gaulle. Up on 5,000 feet, so we will be intercepting in approximately 11 miles at Gizok. We will make a right hand turn back to runway 25, right into Paris. Once again, as I said, for the final time tonight, the cabin crew are making their way through the cabin to take your wine order. Will it be white or red? I'm sorry, the co-pilot has drank all of the rosé. So if the approach is a little wobbly, we can blame them. Gonna switch down the first officer's side. It's just a little bit too bright for my liking. It feels a little trippy. So we have our localizer armed, and we can see that also on the left hand PFD. You'll see nav, you'll see lock in that kind of green or that blue color. As soon as it establishes the localizer for runway 25, that's then going to turn green. We'll also see then when I've armed the glide slope, a glide slope indicator coming up, that will turn from blue to green, and then we are established. Geeks assemble. I'll take 2 bottles of your finest duty-free whiskey, please. Ooh, that's tempting. I'll meet you in the bar afterwards. Can't see anything out of the window. That's okay. We're full IMC at this time, or full instrument flight rules. So as you can see, also the glide slope indicator is coming alive on the glide or on the instrument landing system. Once we've then established at the final fix, we'll make that right turn in for the airport. "11 of you are currently watching the stream. We had 30 earlier, so thanks for sticking with me. If you do enjoy the channel though, don't forget to give it a big follow. It is very much appreciated. And we will be streaming most nights. Once we get the schedule nailed in, I'll be able to give you a definitive answer on when, so that will probably be tomorrow night as well. But definitely thank you for tuning in, guys. Gone to flaps 2. Just slow down that little bit. We don't want to overshoot the ILS, and definitely don't want to be too fast on our approach, because Paris Charles de Gaulle can be a little bit tricky as it is. Been in here a couple of times in real life, and oof, a couple of times I've gone around as well. So that is the glide slope just gone above us, which will always intercept from below. And the localizer is going to come in just a moment. Tuning to 120.665.
Tower on 120.655 Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
We've now made our turn to finals. We're also going to arm in just a moment. We're going to arm our glide slope. Currently 15 miles out from Paris.
Airbus Echo India, Charlie Alpha Charlie to Gaulle Tower. Cleared ILS runway 27 right approach. Altimeter tree 0.12 and 010 and 10.
So we now clear in on our approach.
Cleared ILS runway 27
The localizer
right
just
approach,
coming in,
Airbus Charlie
and we're going to
Alpha
arm our
Charlie.
approach. So as I said, our glide slope and our approach is just turned blue. So we're holding that altitude until we capture the glide slope. Gonna also now arm our speed brake. So the speed brake is armed. At 8 miles our landing gear will come down. And hold on tight. It's gonna be an easy landing. So still can't see anything, we're still in the clouds here in France. And there's another 787 coming in directly behind me. No pressure. So our glide slope has now turned green, which means we are established on the glide slope. We're now descending for runway 25 right at Paris. Our landing light is on. In a moment, because of the Penguin King, he's asked for the de-ice system to come off. That will come off in just a moment. We'll be the big real men. Jules WNT is already on the deck. I was surprised he didn't decide to fly by. Instead, in a 787, normally he would decide to buzz me, but he's decided not to for some bizarre reason. So that is the runway straight out ahead of us through another cloud bank. That's okay. We are visual with the runway. We have got about 10 miles to run. We do indeed. So at 8 miles we're going to go full flap. As we get to 2,000 feet our landing gear will come out. Braking is set to low. We don't need huge braking coming into Paris. It's a long runway and it's a dry runway. And then we'll settle down at about 125 knots, I believe it was. 120 knots we're going to touch down at. Landing configuration will be full. In the event, though, that we are going to go around, our thrust reduction altitude will be 1,500 feet. This should have been filled in earlier. That was my mistake for not doing it. So 1,500 feet by 1,500 feet. And if we have an engine out, that will be at 1,200 feet here in Paris as well. But right now, we are good for landing. 2,500 feet above the ground. That's okay, that's perfectly manageable. Going to flaps 3, with full flaps to follow in just a moment. The landing gear is going to come out. We're passing 7 miles. Landing gear is coming down. So you're currently stable on the approach. One more cloud bank to go through. And then we're going to go full flaps at about 2,000 feet. Which is to come up in just one moment.
Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie cleared to land runway 27 right. Wind
So
011 at 10.
we've just been cleared to land. It's a 10 knot winds coming across the runway. From
27 right Airbus Charlie Alpha
no
Charlie.
problem whatsoever. Tomorrow night's stream will also be on VATSIM, so we will be talking to live ATC. Flaps are now coming to full. DI systems now coming off. Also, in the event of a go-round, we now have full power available to those engines. So that is the DI system, just to keep the Penguin King happy. 3 miles to run before we're down onto the runway. And our cabin is ready according to the system as well. "1,000 feet above the ground, we have the runway in sight. We are stable on the approach. We're good to land. In the event of the go-round, we have our go-round altitude set as well. Our runway heading is currently runway 5, so I'll set that as well. Bit late, should have done it earlier. Doesn't matter, we'll set it later on. Too late, we're too close to the runway. 300 feet is our decision altitude, and we will be deciding at that point. "300 feet, we're landing." That's the autopilot coming off, and continue the approach down.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30.
Throttle goes to idle, and we flare at 30 feet.
10. 5.
Reversers are coming in. Our spoilers are also armed as well. Decels in the green. Brakes are good. 80 knots, reversers can come off, and we'll take this high-speed taxi way off on the right-hand side, left-hand side even.
Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie contact ground on 121.61.
So we'll now contact the ground on 126.1, find out what gate we're going to, and then taxi to our gate.
Airbus Charlie Alpha Charlie.
Gonna have one more runway to cross, so we do have to contact the ground and request taxi to our gate. We're gonna taxi to any gate though, as I don't have a chart currently for this airport. Gonna need to work on that one.
De Gaulle ground Airbus Echo India. Charlie
Nothing
Alpha
landing
Charlie
on
request taxi
05
to gate.
left. So we're gonna start our taxi across. Landing light can come off, taxi light can come on. Gonna leave our strobe lights on,
X-ray 4 via taxiway.
and that's only as we cross the runways.
Right, Delta 6 Delta Delta Alpha 1 Alpha.
Taxiing to gate X-ray 4 using taxiway Kilo Tree Cross runway 9 or right. Delta
I told you
6
that
Delta
Jules
Delta
WNT
Alpha
was going to do
Airbus
something.
Charlie Alpha
Well,
Charlie.
he definitely knows how to back. Ooh, and tail scrape A787. So as we cross the runway, flaps are going to come up to 0. Speed brake can be disarmed as our flaps come in as well. I won't ask what he is doing. To find out where we're going, here's the easiest way. Go to our assistants. I normally do not use this, and I feel bad putting it up on the screen, but we'll pull up our taxi ribbon. don't want to do that. That was my mistake, and we'll resume. So a short taxi, we can actually shut down our left engine for single engine taxi. Our APU is on and has been running for longer than 3 minutes, which means then we can also use its bleed air should we require it. So right now our left hand engine, engine 1, is going to be switched off for our taxi. Also our landing system can be switched off. That way we're not going to cause any interference for anyone that was on the real ILS into Charles de Gaulle. Thank you for the follow. I hope my alerts will be fixed for tomorrow night's stream so I can see exactly who it is, but I do thank you very much for your follows, guys, and for your support of the channel. Jules WNT, where is he? He's taxiing in behind me there. Strobe light come off, leave our taxi lights on. As we're only on one engine now, we must increase the right hand power just to maintain taxi speed. Otherwise, if we were still on twin engine, the great thing with the Airbus A320neo, even in real life, it does tend to accelerate. So if you don't monitor your speed on the ground, you will notice that you may end up at 40 or even 50 knots, which has happened on occasion on the real aircraft. It does happen on something that I fly quite frequently. If you don't monitor your speeds, you'll notice that you're nearly at V1 prior to the runway. So before we get in, I will now know what gate I'm going to. Going to switch off my taxi assistance. Shouldn't really be doing this, so I do apologize for doing this during the stream. Oops, don't want to do that. And we can see our gate we're going in on. Do we have a marshaller today? Yes, we do. He doesn't look very happy though. We're on time. What's he complaining about? You tell me. Ooh, this is a tight stand to get into as well. Hopefully we didn't hit the taxi lights on the way in. As you can see the stand, our taxi lights now coming off. Nav and beacon still on because we have an engine running, and it looks like they have not given us a marshaller today, but that's okay. Normally it's taxi right up to the tug. Try not hit them. So that's us now on stand. What we're going to do is we're going to set our parking brake. Our speed brake is down for some reason, or up for some reason. That's now in. So we're now going to come up, switch off of our beacon when we turn off our engine. Right engine now being switched off. Our APU is on, so we'll switch our bleed on, keep our passengers happy. Oop, never mind, we'll also got ground power available to us as well. So that is on. And our APU bleed is now switched on for our air conditioning as well. So that is our beacon light can now come off. Nav lights can stay on, we're still on the stand. And now we'll ask for ramp connection. Thank you very much for the follow. Go to external view really quickly, get rid of that. Ooh, I picked up ice on the approach. So, the Penguin King, now you know why I use the anti-ice system. There's not a problem with that, but it just goes to show that... Oh, I'll have to turn off our taxiway lights as well, or turn off lights. But that is why we use the ice. Get rid of it off the leading edge. Doesn't matter if it's on the nose, our fuel efficiency will decrease, and off of our tail. We just don't want to stall that tail. So we'll contact our ground services. We're first going to request a power supply. That means we can switch off our auxiliary power unit.
Charlie Alpha, Charlie, could you please send a ground power unit?
And we're also going to ask for a jetway connection.
Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie, a ground power unit is on the road.
We'll also ask for our jetway connection. And we'll ask for our baggage.
To call ground Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie, could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Airbus Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie, the jetway is going to be connected.
And the very last thing that we need to do is request our baggage. Realistically though, these guys would automatically be already in the holds taking your bags for your holidays, because if they didn't, we'd have to fly all the way back to Dublin with your baggage on board, and you'd be very
Call ground Airbus
unhappy.
Echo India. Charlie Alpha, Charlie, could you please send the baggage?
I picked up quite a lot of ice on the way in, as you can see in the engine nacelles, in the intake, and all over the nose. So we still have our 5% fuel on board, which was our contingency fuel. My alternate that I had planned for was back to Heathrow, unfortunately, if we had bad weather here in Paris, which we don't. A little bit cloudy, -2, but yeah, we've had a good flight. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Before we go though, we will shut down the remainder of our aircraft. But if you did enjoy the stream, please comment below. If you did enjoy it as well, please give it a follow. We'll be here most nights when we can. I'll hopefully have the proper schedule up within the next day or so of when I'll be on. So we don't irradiate the crew, or the ground crew, let's switch off our weather system, and our predictive wind shear we no longer need either. Let's make sure that we've opened up the flight deck door, which is now open. Nearly open. So our flight deck door is now open. We'll now start to shut down our aircraft. So the crew supply can be switched off. Our ADIRs, which normally some pilots would leave on, meant to be switched off. That's okay, it's now been switched off. We can shut down our APU, we no longer need it, we have ground power. Fuel pumps can be switched off. And make sure that we've switched off all of our lights outside, minus the nav, because they will switch on automatically with a ground power unit. Restore the aircraft back to its cold condition, dark and cold. Oops, where is my mouse going? AvGeeks Assemble, thanks for joining, dude. Oops, and the last thing that we need to do, and that is our aircraft back to cold and dark. Guys, I'd like to say a huge thank you for joining the stream, if you joined on YouTube under Andy G, or if you have been on Twitch with me, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on as well. Thanks for joining, all the subscribers, followers, thank you very much, and I'll hope to see you on the next one.